What is going on, guys, and welcome to Bootstrap Projects. In this video I'm going to create a simple banner over here on the top, or let's say if you open up your page, if you make your page, this could serve as a header, right? So this is going to be a pretty simple project. However, we're going to accomplish two things. I'm going to actually work over here with a Bootstrap Columns, so you can see over here that it's actually divided exactly in half, right? You can see that these ones are actually vertically aligned, right? They're actually vertically exactly in the middle. Also, we're going to use a little bit of Animate CSS and Wow GS, right? Plugins, right? You can see how everything is actually coming from left and right. And as you can see over here, this image fits perfectly for our whole screen. So that's going to be another thing that we're going to actually look at today. And also one thing that you don't maybe notice right now, right? But there's actually a little layer of like black transparent, let's say, film on top of this. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the first thing obviously we need to do is actually we need to jump to our text editor. So over here I can see, I have already made this page, right? So what we would need to do is we would make a new file and we would actually start working there. And as always, I'm going to be working a brackets extensions. I'm going to be using brackets extensions. And I'm going to be using, again, as always, a brackets starter template here. And there's going to be an ACB bootstrap snippets also for my brackets. So since I have a bootstrap starter template extension, only thing that I need to do over here, I go to a new bootstrap template, right? And over here, I'm just going to call this index HTML. So I save as, and I say that this is index HTML. Right, so over here we have a new document, right? So we can actually minimize this over here, and you can see over here that I have a images that I'll be using, right? This is going to be a background image, right? And this is going to be a Apple logo that I'm going to be using, and this is going to be for our animations. This is going to be wow min.js. This is going to be a jQuery plugin that we'll be using. So if we just close this banner, that's the already made file, and go back to index.html, first thing that we want to do is actually get rid of all this, right? Because we want to create our own everything, right, that we have in a page. So we just delete it over here, and we have a container, right? And now we can actually start working. And the first thing that I want to do is just minimize this one a little bit. And just to show you again where would be a nice thing to get images, I don't know, let's say you can get your own, obviously, what you want, but let me show you the one that I like is a Pick Jumbo over here. It's going to be a Pick Jumbo right over here. And once we go over here, you can see that nice images that we can actually download, right? So there's a bunch of them that we can, choose from. And I really like because there's actually a very good quality for these images. So if you're ever wondering where to get images, you can definitely go with this site. And they're free, actually. So let's just close this one out. And over here we can close it out. And maybe one thing we can right away change a name, right? The title. So let's just find where's our title. And we're going to say that this is going to be, again, we're going to say this is going to be a banner bootstrap, right? Banner bootstrap over here like this. So the first thing what you need to do is actually create a section, and I'm going to say that this is going to be a section, and I'm going to give it an ID over here of a banner, right? And after that, what we're going to create is a div, and I'm going to say the div is going to have an ID, and ID is going to be background. And this is going to be for our image. We're going to be using this actually to place our image. And after that, what we want to do is actually create a bootstrap container, right? So we're going to say over here that this is going to be div with a class of container fluid over here like this. And after that, right away, we can assess this class, the text center for bootstrap, right? And now we have a container where we want to place our image and also our heading and those buttons, right? So here I'm going to say that this is going to be column. Sorry, this is going to be div with a class of row, actually over here like this. Then after that, we're going to say that within that row, we're going to have a two divs. I'm just going to call this div class over here like this. And I'm going to say that this is going to be column extra small 6. And what it means is starting even from the smallest screen, this is going to be split exactly in half. So obviously, since we know how to work Bootstrap, we know that if the sum needs to be 12, right, for the Bootstrap. So I need to make exactly the same div over here with the same columns. So I made one over here. What I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to copy this and paste it. And now I have 2 of them, right? And over here, what we want to do is actually insert right away 2 divs, which are going to serve for the purpose of actually aligning everything vertically. So here I'm going to say div, and this is going to have an ID. I'm sorry, this is going to actually have a class. I changed my mind because I'm going to be doing them both the same. So I'm going to say box, and here I'm going to say that this is going to be a div, the class of box content, right? And you will see why we're doing that in a second. Box content. Here we're going to place a heading 1, and we're going to say that this is going to be responsive over here, website, over here like this. Then we're going to add a heading 3, and we're going to have a question, do you wish to continue? Over here like this, to continue, over here like this. And after that, we're going to add 2 links that actually are going to serve as buttons, right? So I'm going to say href, and it's going to be hashtag. And over here, we're going to say that this is going to be class, button, and this is going to be button large, right? Because I just like how they look large. All right, so these are going to be, this is going to be 1 button, and I'm going to say yes over here. And what we want to do is just copy this, and here we're going to write no. And over here, we're going to place the Apple image over here. This one, I believe, right? Yeah. So if we go back to index.html, and I'm going to say image, and before I actually place the image, what I want to do is actually take the same 2 classes, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy whatever thing that I had over here in this one. So if I just copy this over here, and I'm going to place in the same column, but I'm just going to change whatever I have within these 2 divs, right? So I'm going to delete this, and here I'm going to say that this is going to be image, this is going to have a source, and this one is going to be Apple PNG. And let's just check whether that's the one. Yeah, that's the one that we want. It's transparent Apple logo. And here we're going to add a right away class, and this is going to be image responsive, right? This is going to be a Bootstrap class that makes our images responsive. And here we're going to say alternative. The text is going to be, I don't know, Apple over here like this. And now I can see that we have our image, right? So now that we're pretty much done with our HTML, we can go actually and start styling everything. Now, before we do that, I always like to include my fonts. So again, over here, I'm just going to go to Google Fonts, and I'm kind of lately just using for all the videos, I guess lately, if you have been noticing, this is going to be a Macondo over here. So over here, and we just go over here, and we see what we need to do, right? So the first thing we need is a link, right? And then this we're going to need to add to our body. So we're just going to go to our heading over here, and we're just going to check where we're going to do that. I guess over here, we're just going to paste it. This is going to be our fonts. I mean, I'm not going to be putting a comment. We know what we're doing, right? And over here, we're just going to create a style tags. Okay, because I don't want to create another external style sheet, because it's going to be easier just to going up and down and looking for stuff that we need. And we're going to say that body, it would be a, let's say, font family over here, right? This, right? So we're just going to copy this, and we're just going to paste it, and let's check it out, right? And now we have our fonts, right? Very, very basic. Now, the first thing that I actually want to show you is how we can get this right in the middle. And then we're going to deal with all let's say, background images and little films that we're going to add on top. I'm going to leave this Google because I'm going to be showing you a Wow.js over here later. I mean, I have covered it, but we're just going to skip over it briefly when we'll be doing that. But let's just go to the boxes right now. And you see these 2 boxes, right? This is the box, and this is the box content, right? So if we want to place actually this in a vertically in the middle, what we can always do is have this box. Let's say we're going to say that this is going to have a height of 100%, right? Then we're going to say that this is going to have a width of 100%. And over here, we're going to say that this is going to be display. And we're going to say that this is going to be display, the table, right? So this is the parent element, right? And obviously we have two of them, right? That's why I named it class, not ID, because there's two of them. Now after that, I'm going to say that this is going to have a box, class box content over here like this. And I'm going to say that this should have a height of 100%. And then I'm going to say that this is going to have a display. And this is going to be display of table cell, right? So here we're going to go to where is display table cell over here like this. And we're going to say table cell, right? Over here like this. And actually we can get rid of this 100%. I actually made a mistake over here. So this is going to be display table cell. And after that, we're going to say that this is going to be vertical line. This is going to be middle. And here we're pretty much done with that. But you can see that nothing is happening, right? And that's why I wanted to show you first how it's actually done. So you can see over here this box, right? But in order for me to place this exactly in a center, I need to go all the way up down to these elements that are actually parent elements. And I need to set them also to a height of 100%. So how do we do that? So let's see, let's go over here. What is the next thing that we have, right? We have this div with the class of column extra small, right, 6, right? So we type over here column extra small over here like this, and we say that we want it to be like height to be 100%, right? So we made our first step. These two classes, right, they now 100%. Well, now we need to keep going forward, right? And then we have a row, right? So we type row, and we say that we want a row also to have a height of 100%, right? 100% over here like this. Then the next one is going to be container fluid. So we go over here, and we have a container fluid over here. And we want that one also to be height of 100%. What do we have after that? Then we have a background, then we have a banner, and then we have body and HTML, right? So it's a little bit maybe annoying, but however, it actually makes your life at the end of the day much more simpler. You can see here the difference was that I was actually creating over here these two columns. That's why I kind of my path is a little bit longer, right? It would be shorter if I would just place it right over here, but basic idea is, again, we would need to do the same thing, right? So we find what we have after that. We have a ID of background, and we would want to say that we would want a background over here like this, ground, and we would want that one to have a height of 100%. And after that, we're going to have a banner of 100%. So I'm going to say banner of 100%. And after that, we're going to set over here, we just need to read height, banner 100%. And then the last thing that we need to do is actually set the body and HTML to 100%. All right, so we go over here and we just say body, and we say that we want HTML, and then we say that we want them to be height of 100%. And you can see that now after 6 types of typing height 100%, height 100%, you can see that we achieved our goal. Again, this would be much more easier if you just have, let's say, section ID banner, right? And over here is going to be container, right? Without any rows, and you right away place this box, right? But in this case, because we were going to be adding some more stuff to the background, to the container, to the banner, we had to do it this way, and we were using these two columns. But the idea is that you need to set these two classes like this. You can name them however you want, but you just need to remember that you're keeping over here this syntax, right? And then as you keep going to the parent elements, you can actually set them exactly in the middle, right? And now let's check it out. What other things, let's say we want to actually add over here to our all the elements, right? And after that, what we have been doing, we want to actually start dealing with the background, right? This is going to be our background, right? And what we want to do is our background, we actually want to have an image, and we would want to say that this is going to be a background over here like this. And we're going to say this is going to have URL, and this is going to have a different apple, right? This is going to be an Apple JPEG, right? So we need to do it over here like this, over here like this. And now I'm just going to save this, and you can see that now I have my image on the background. Now I want to do a couple of things with it. I want to say that background over here, and I'm going to say repeat, no repeat. Then I'm going to have a position, background position. And we're going to say this is going to be center. Then we're going to say a background size over here, and this is going to be cover. And now you can see that we are already there, right? Now, one more thing that I want to add over here is this background attachment. And again, I can add it over here, just write it fixed, or I can over here have a background, and I'm going to have an attachment. And if I place over here this fixed, what happens is that if we're going to be scrolling, right, which in this case, you see the brackets gives you this because whenever we save it, actually, for some reason, it gives you this double, right? You can see that actually the background is actually moving slower than over here, our whatever is up front, right? And this is how you can actually achieve the parallax effect, right? Therefore, over here, you can again write background attachment fixed, or just write over here fixed. It would do the same thing, right? So now we have done actually with a background, and now we want to check out what we can do with container fluid. And container fluid is this one, right? And you can see that it's sitting actually right underneath the background, right? And because we set it with container fluid with a class, right? With a class from the Bootstrap, we know that this is going to be spanning all across. And what we want to add over here. So we go over here, and also we add a background. And we're going to say a background, and I'm going to say that this is going to have a background RGBA. So I'm going to say background, and here I'm going to say RGBA. And what I'm going to write over here. So these are the colors of a red, green, black, and this is going to be an opacity, right? So if I write over here 0, and here 0, and here 0, and here I would, let's say, write like something 0.4. You can see that right away it got darker. And how did it get darker? Well, first of all, you can see this color actually is 0, 0, 0, right? This is actually black. So if I would change it around over here, and let's say 250, you can see that this would have this kind of background, right? So pretty cool. And over here, opacities, obviously, I can change it to, if I would change it all the way to the 1, right? It would be completely red, right? But I don't want that. I want this image. But like I said, we're just kind of adding like a little film, right? And you can see that we just achieve this kind of pretty cool look, right? So again, we can change this one, or we can, now we created red, but let's say if we would put a green 250, right? So this would be something like this. So it's really up to your imagination. I'm just going to leave this black for now, right? But we know already that we're just adding this kind of this darker tone to it, right? So let's just maybe leave to like 0.3 or something, right? So the row, we're just going to leave it the way it is. And the next thing that we want to actually do is style this image, right? So we're just going to go all the way underneath these boxes over here. And I'm going to say that I would want a banner image, right? Image. And I'm going to say that I would want a width over here of this image to be like 200 pixels, something like this. So it got a little bit smaller. And now I can see that it's technically not actually sitting in the center. And the reason why it's not sitting in the center, if you remember that when we use this image responsive, it's actually displayed in the block. So we have two options. We can either use margins to set it in the center, or we can just say display inline. So we say display, and the moment I set in display inline, you can see it right away move to the right, right? So if I delete, goes back, click over here, you can see display inline. And after that, what we want to do is we would just want to style this over here, this H1, H2, I'm sorry, H3, and these buttons, right? So here I'm going to say that H1 is going to have a, let's say, font size over here, and I'm going to say this is going to be something like, I don't know, 60 pixels. Then we're gonna add a 60 pixels. Then we're gonna have a color black over here, right? Then after that, we're gonna say that this is gonna have a font weight bold, right? So we're gonna say font weight bold, or we can just say bolder. Maybe let's do bolder. And after that, we're gonna say that we want to style the H3, right? So we go over here and we say that we want to style H3. So we write H3, and heading 3 would want a font size over here, and I would say that this would be like something like, I don't know, 30 pixels, right? And after that, we're gonna say that we're just gonna have a color red. This is gonna be the font color red, right? And after that, let's just go and style the button, right? And I have the links, but I have a class over here, and I'm gonna use the class. I'm gonna say that button, right? This is gonna be my class. And I'm going to say that font size over here, this is going to be 40 pixels. Then after that, I'm going to say that this is going to font weight is going to be also bolder over here like this. Then we're going to say that padding, right? We want to add some padding, and we're just going to add a vertical padding of 10 pixels. And then we're going to say that we want a horizontal of 20 pixels over here like this. And after that, what we want to do is we want to have a color, right? And we're just gonna have a white color. And after that, we're gonna have a border, and we're gonna say 3 pixels solid white over here. And now what I want to do is add over here a little bit of margin. So I'm gonna say margin, and this is gonna be 10 pixels, right? So now the last thing that we want to do is actually, as we're hovering over this button, we just want to add a different background color. So I'm gonna say button over here, hover over here like this, and here I would add a background color white, right? So what's going to happen as we're hovering, you can see that they're going to be actually white. So the next thing that we can actually do is to work with our animations, right? So this is going to be animate CSS. And again, we have actually done this before, so it's nothing new. So therefore, I'm not going to be covering it very, very extensively. One thing that I just want to show you that with this extension, with this Bootstrap snippet extension, what we were able to do over here, this one, we're actually able to right away add a animate CSS, the CDN, we don't need to go anywhere. We don't need to look for internet, nothing like that. You see these ACB Bootstrap snippets, right? What do we do over here? We just go somewhere on the top, right? Because this is where we're adding usually our CSS. Well, over here, maybe above the fonts, right? If we try BS3, right? Here, this is this snippets, Bootstrap snippets, ACB. And if I start typing over here, I look for CDNs. You can see I have the CDN. So technically right away, I added animate CSS, the CDN, without actually going and looking for it, right? So if I add over here, let's say if I scroll over here and I just for the whole banner, I say animated, right? And I say bounce, right? So the moment I should actually refresh, it should happen, but it actually didn't. So let's check it out. Why not? Reason why nothing happened, because you can see over here I messed up and I added where the ID is. So I'm going to delete this, and we need to add the class, obviously. So I'm going to say class animated over here, and we're going to say bounce, right? And now you can see that it's bouncing. If I write infinite over here, then you can see that it's going to be bouncing all the time. But by itself, it's not interesting. So we want to add over here this wow.js, right? So over here, I'm just going to leave over here this class for now empty. And we're just going to go quickly and see how we can actually deal with wow.js, right? And again, I have made separate videos on that. Therefore, we're not going to be looking for the long version over here. We're just going to go right straight to the point, right? So this is, again, as always, we need to remember if we're using commercially, we need to pay for it. Then if we need to how to use, we can obviously, in my case, I downloaded it. And the only thing you need to look for over here is for this wow min.js, right? And then they pretty much are telling you that you need to include it over here in a script. but they're asking for animate CSS. And we already added our animated CSS with our back brackets extension. So the next thing that I'm telling you is how we can use it, right? So let's just go back over here and just let's make sure that we have everything set up, right? So this is going to be what we need to add, right? We have over here, this is the script, right? So I can just copy this, right? Because once we downloaded and once we have over here this wow min.js over here, this file, the only thing over here we're going to add is this script. So we're going to go over here and we're going to paste it, and let's change over here the path because we don't have a JavaScript folder, we just have a separate file. And you can see over here, this is the script we'll be using. So what I'm going to do, over here, I'm just going to save this. And over here, they're telling us that we need to use the wow class, and then we need to use the animated CSS class. And after that, they're offering us the ways how we can actually work a little bit better with our animation. You see, we can change the duration, we can change the delay over here. This is going to be the offset. In our case, we're not going to be using it because this is only when we're scrolling up and down. And over here, it has a data wow iteration, right? So let's go back to our file over here and let's start adding the stuff that we want, right? So over here, what we want to do is actually add a wow.js to, let's say, to first of all to this section banner, right? And what I'm going to say is wow, and I would want a zoom in, and here I'm going to add a couple of attributes, and I'm going to say that the data wow duration over here, duration is going to be 5 seconds. What it says pretty much that the animation is going to be 5 seconds. The next thing that I want over here, this column over here, this one, and I'm going to say that this is going to have wow, and I'm going to have a fade over here in, and over here is going to be left, and here I'm going to say that there's going to be two attributes. I'm going to say data wow over here, duration. It's going to be also 5 seconds. However, I also am going to include data wow over here, delay, because I wanted them to run actually a little bit later. So I'm going to say delay, and I'm going to say that this is going to be like 4 seconds, right? So what I want to do over here, I just want to copy this over here like this, and we're going to find another container, and we're just going to add it over here, right? We're going to paste it, and here again, we're going to say data wow. So it's going to be wow, and then it's going to be fade in right over here like this. And what we need to remember that we need to, it is capital sensitive, right? So cap sensitive, and we need to use a capital letters whenever we need to do it, right? We cannot just write everything with a smaller case and then expect animation would run, right? So we're gonna save this over here, and you can see that well, nothing is happening because I messed up somewhere probably. So let's check it out and let's find where I made a mistake. Oh, now you can see that it's actually happening, and here maybe you can see that I made the mistake. It's not a zoom, but it's actually zoom in, right? That's why it's not happening. Now you can see that it's actually zooming in, and over here these ones should be coming from left to right. So let's check it out. All right, so this one is going to be coming, and now once this is done, you can see that they're coming from left to right. Now the last thing that I'm going to do is over here, this container fluid. Actually, we're going to add a background color, right? We're going to add a background color, maybe to our actually section. Find where is our section or container fluid. Well, let's add, I don't know, to ID maybe, or to the banner. Somewhere we should just add basically where, so the background wouldn't stay, wouldn't be white. So let's say to the whole body. I'm just going to say background, and I'm going to say that background color, and I'm going to give it a gray or Greensboro gray. Here like this. So save this, and now you can see what happens. Then we have a gray over here, and then it's actually spinning over here left and right. So if we just actually make this on a bigger screen, and we just make it totally big. So now you can see what happened, right? So we're actually zooming in right now, and then we're going to be sliding left and right. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Now, one thing that we need to actually remember is that we need to use it properly, right? We cannot use it however we want. So that's going to be really important.